Congratulations on the new book. Got it here.
Yay.
um, I was really interested to learn you went vegan in 2018, but before that, you were paleo. Is that right?
Yeah, so actually I went vegan in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and before that I was all sorts of versions of low carb for like many years.
What drew you to the low carb diets?
I mean, really I just wanted to lose weight. I've been
Mm,
struggling with being, not like overweight, but just at that point, like where I was like
mhm.
either very overweight or, trying to maintain my weight for pretty much like my whole life. And so I fallen for the Atkins diet probably sometime in the um late 90s, and was just trying to figure out a sustainable way of eating, and kind of fell for the whole low carb allure for a long time.
And then I know that your reasons kind of for going plant-based slash vegan are very layered and it's health and ethics, but and you are primarily like an ethical vegan at your core. But there were some, you did see some health benefits after going
Yeah,
vegan, is
well,
that right?
my cholesterol went down like a lot. Because I think it was like at some point close to like 200, my overall cholesterol, and it's never gone anywhere close to that since going vegan. So
Wow.
so that was probably the primary benefit from a health perspective. And then I think just like overall my inflammation went down. And the only reason I say that is because I used to have like I had like a scar on my body from a surgery that was just always irritated. It was always itchy and it was always rashy. And I think it was like an allergic reaction to something that they used in the surgery and like never went away. But I
Mhm.
noticed after I went plant-based, it went away and it never came back, which I thought was so strange. And I really think it was because I went plant-based, because I'd had it for years, and then all of a sudden after I went vegan, it just stopped.
That's crazy.
I know, it was really weird. I haven't had it since. And I'd had it for 3 years, just like a rash, and like it just would get so ishy and like bumpy. And I was just like, I guess I'm just gonna have this forever. And then after I went
God.
plant-based, it went away.
Nice. I wonder, I'm always curious, like, I wonder what specific dietary component, like, was it dairy that was,
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the dairy. That's usually the kind of culprit behind those kind of dermatological type of
mhm.
issues.
Well, glad that cleared up for you.
Yeah.
It's been quite like the past decade. I feel like has been you went from being like a paleo trial lawyer to a vegan award-winning cookbook author. It's pretty amazing. Like that's not that long a span of time that you've like accomplished so much. So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it feels like a long time, but you're right. It's
mm.
actually not. It's like a lifetime of stuff happening in a decade. Yeah.
So your first cookbook, The Korean Vegan, which won a James Beard Award, it was subtitled Recipes and Stories from Omma's Kitchen. And I noticed the new book, Korean Vegan Homemade, is subtitled Recipes and Stories from My Kitchen. And I was wondering about that. Is that indicative, that subtitle, at all of kind of a different focus that you had in this book?
Yeah, that's very fair, Courtney. I would say that the first book was really like more traditional Korean cuisine, and like things that like any Korean American or even Korean person would think, oh yeah, this belongs in a book about Korean food, right? There are always going to be in my books like some twist to things. So you will see, like I think in the first one, like you said, the bunt cake, that's not a traditional, none of the well, practically none of the desserts are traditional
Hmm.
Korean dishes. But in this one, in the second book, you're going to see much more of the Korean twists, because that's really more in line with the way that I eat. I'm eating a lot of times more like Koreanized versions of American foods, Italian foods, Mexican food, which is a very typical kind of way to eat in America since I grew up here. So that was really like you said, indicative of this focus being more on me and less upon my family and the generation that preceded me.
Definitely. But of course, that is still a huge part of the book. I was wondering if you could speak to the cover recipe, the Buddha jjigae. That,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
budae jjigae and it's
Buddha jjigae.
army stew. And um I mean there's like so much that one could say about that stew, but honestly it's like one of my favorite ways to eat. I love putting like a lot of my favorite flavors into a pan or a pot and just letting it simmer. And the great thing about pudetjjiga is that it's just got all the things of Korean food, right? It's got kimchi, it's got gochujang, it's got sesame oil, it's got silken tofu or whatever kind of tofu you want. You have rice cakes. I mean, these are some of the hallmark ingredients of Korean food, and so it's got that. But it's also got so much history behind the dish. It's your quintessential quote fusion dish in that it was what Korean people kind of cobbled together during the era right after the war when they were so hungry and they were starving to death, and so they took whatever leftovers the American GIs were not eating and mashed that together with their own foods like kimchi and kind of came up with this dish which is aptly named army stew. And now, I mean, it's funny. I remember I had potato chicken for the first time when I was like probably in college, and it was at some bar, Korean bar, and it's like quintessential Korean bar food. And this is what you eat like late at night. And you're like, want to eat something that's very comforting, but spicy and delicious and really hits that spot. And it's also one of my father's favorite dishes.
So, was there anything that you kind of learned since the first cookbook that you wanted to do differently this go around?
Yeah, there were a couple of things. Number one, we wanted to rigorously recipe test the recipes. I think the first time around, I got really lucky. The recipes turned out really good. But I obviously tested every single one. But I, I mean, like I remember when the book was first published, I had this like moment of like total fear. And I was like, oh my God, like these people who don't know anything about Korean food are going to be making this, and like nobody but me and my mom and my cousins and my aunts have made this. Like this is like maybe sort of silly in retrospect. And so this time we had it rigorously third party tested, and that just gave me peace of mind, I think. And then the other thing was, you know, it wasn't so much criticism, but one of the things that we heard very often was that some people had trouble sourcing these ingredients. And I think that, while I understand why I took such a hardline approach to, no, you can't substitute this. No, there's no substitute for this. It was really because I wanted people to not take the easy way out. And I really wanted people to understand the importance of these ingredients to the storytelling and my family's history and the food, that I basically offered no substitution recommendations. I was like, sorry, if you can't use this and you can't make the dish. And so this time what I tried to do was really provide you with the reason these ingredients are so important. So we have a very deep pantry section, but then also provide substitution recommendations, recognizing that, if you're from England or you're from India or, Germany, some part of the world where gochugaru is just not easily accessible, I don't want you to feel like you can't make these dishes. So that's one big difference that I will say exists between book one and two.
You draw inspiration not just from your own family, but your husband's family, which I thought was really touching. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about his dad, Robert, and how he is still an influence on you, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that I would have been into baking if it hadn't been for him. He was such a big baker, and I'll never forget. And I think I mentioned it in the chapter essay. Coming home from that race. the shamrock truffle, and it's just like seeing this tray of like huge muffins. That itself has influenced the way I bake muffins now. I will never not use those jumbo muffin trays like forever. Um, because I'm always like I have the vision of that in my head. And
Oh,
I was like, this idea, like, oh my God, like you could have fresh baked muffins like to eat. How like charming that is. And I think that like that really kind of began this, passion for baking. I love baking so much. I literally was watching an episode of the Great British Bake Off right now. And I think that he really inspired that in me. And yeah, I mean, and Robert wasn't like an obsessive baker. I think he was just like he had his tried and true recipes. He knew what his wife liked, and he just kind of made those. And he was so good at it. He could probably had these recipes memorized in his head. But for me, it's like, oh, I want to try this. I want to try that. I want to learn new things. So it really kind of set off this interesting exploration of food and baking, which, as I'm sure you know, if you made that bundt cake, that's a whole different ball of wax when you cut out eggs, butter, dairy. It's just like really, really hard.
I mean, your baking recipes are so great though. I love the challah, the braided, the patbang
Oh
bread.
yeah.
Yeah, I made
Mhm,
that like 5 times last holiday season. I'm obsessed with it. So, and you've gotten
mhm.
me into using a kitchen scale, to measure everything for baking. So that's been huge.
Oh, so then yeah, you're literally following in the same footsteps. I was the same way before like Robert like got me into baking. I was like, "Oh, you just, and like
Yeah,
everything was like so like cash." And then like the more and more I got into it, I was like, "No, it just makes more sense to use a scale. It's less messy and like you just
yeah.
feel like you have a little more control over it."
Totally. Yes, that's a total game changer.
Mhm.
Um, so a lot of Forks Over Knives readers are oil free, and this is a vegan cookbook. It's not a oil free, whole food, plant based cookbook. But I was wondering if you feel like even our oil free readers could still use the cookbook or maybe adapt some of the recipes to be oil free, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that over the past year. By the time like I was not as focused on oil free as I am right now. And so you won't see as much of that in this book. It's interesting. I had a little bonus chapter that I wrote for people who pre-ordered. And by that time, I was very conscientious of oil-free recipes. And so you'll see very clearly, oh wow, Joanne now has very explicit recommendations on how to make substitutions to make this oil-free. But unfortunately, I was not already thinking that way when I developed the recipes for the book. But the ones that I would sort of focus on would certainly be the soups and stews. Those are always eminently easy when it comes to making them oil free. And I'm a big fan of Dr. Greger, and I've read his books many, many times. And I love the way that he incorporates the taste of sesame in his soups and stews, and that's simply to replace the oil with sesame seeds. Just use toasted sesame seeds, throw those in
Hmm.
at the very end. In terms of, some of the steps, just replace the sesame oil that I usually start. I almost always start a soup or a stew with a little bit of sesame oil and a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to roast the gochugaru or roast the veggies. Simply just do water. Replace it with water or replace it with broth, which is, obviously tried and tested way of doing soups and stews when you're whole foods plant based. And then everything else is the same after that, and you throw in a little bit of maybe a tablespoon of toasted sesame seeds at the very end
Mm.
so that you're not losing out on that rich sesame aroma and of course the health benefits that are associated with sesame seeds. So that's the way I would do it. Of course, if there is a recipe, like I think some of my like the sujebi Tuscan stew calls for, grated Parmesan,
Mm.
vegan Parmesan, just leave that out, and throw it in some nooch instead of that, and things like that. So I think a lot of the Whole Foods plant-based community, they're pretty savvy and they're really good at making these types of sort of substitutions. And the only one that I think that I could actually create some value for is that toasted sesame seed thing, because that is one for one, in my opinion, in terms of a substitution.
So you veganized Korean food and now you're also veganizing Korean beauty. What inspired you to go there?
Yeah, I remember when I was in like 2018, is the year that I got married. I went with my mother to the Korean grocery store, which is where we get our beauty products. Um,
The
and I
H
rem
Mart?
Yeah, H
Okay.
Mart, and so H Mart, at least the one by our house back in Chicago, it's not like a grocery store the way Western grocery stores are. It's more like an indoor shopping center. So what it is you have the grocery store, and then within the grocery store, you'll have like a food court and a little Korean bakery. And then outside of the grocery store, but still inside the same building, you're going to have like little shops, like a video store, like an electronics store, a little gadget store, and like a stationery store. And almost always, you're also going to have a little beauty store, Korean beauty store. And now, I went there because I was going to get married and I wanted to make sure that my skin was like looking perfect. And I had all the makeup. And I realized when I went in there, I'm like, oh, I'm vegan now. Um, so I have to ask this Korean lady, like, oh, is this vegan? And I asked her, and she had no idea what I was even asking, you know? And I was like, oh, okay. So you're saying that this brand that I've used my whole life, like I can't use anymore because you can't tell me whether or not it's vegan. Like you don't even understand the question. And so that's when in my head I was like, oh, we need to come up with an explicitly vegan, cruelty-free K beauty brand. Now, in my head, it wasn't called K beauty. It was just Korean beauty. Like I knew already like Korean beauty was superior to what the Western counterpart. So that was what is in my head. And it was always in the back of my mind, oh, like maybe, I can do something with that. But obviously I was still a partner at a law firm. I was very buried with the Korean vegan cookbook and all of that stuff. So it wasn't like something at the forefront. And then I was reached out to by a company that was already in K beauty, who really wanted to enter the vegan market. They wanted to make a vegan K beauty brand because they just felt that it was a better product, to make it plant based. And so they obviously heard of me, and we partnered together. And I was like, yes, let's do that. That was 3 years ago. It took us 3 years to launch
Wow.
the product. Yeah.
Were you involved in the testing and all that and giving
Oh
feedback?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We were back and forth, like they would send the formula all the way from Korea. We would test it with feedback, then send it, and then send it back with feedback. And it was the same thing with the packaging. I mean, I was pretty much involved in every step.
So, Trial Law, James Beard Award winning cookbook, another cookbook, skincare entrepreneur. What's next for Joanne Lee Molinaro?
Well, we're hopefully going to be launching another product line or two in KV
Ooh.
Beauty, which I'm really excited about. The one that we're testing right now is an exfoliator, and it is freaking amazing. Like I was like, because I had only a little bit of it left, so I didn't bring it with me on the tour, and I was like, I can't wait to get back home so I can wash my face with it. It's really, really good. Um, so that's really exciting. I think. One day I would like to come out with a book that really serves the whole foods plant-based community.
Mm.
That is something that I think is the next challenge for the Korean vegan. I think, the health and the science is there. It's indisputable. It can change people's lives. And there is a community that needs to be served in that way. And I think that what is still, um, where I think I can contribute to that community is obviously the recipes, but also doing it in a way that still honors the traditions of, you know, ethnic cuisine, I think. I think that's like sometimes what I was like, okay, um, I love that this is whole foods plant-based and I love that it's oil free, but doesn't really taste much like, pad thai. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm coming from, which is like I would love to do a cookbook that really um a Korean person would eat that and be like, "Yep, no, that's Korean." But then it's oil free and it's plant based. It's kind of what I would be challenged by, and I would really love to participate in that conversation. So that's something that I would hope to do, sometime. I don't know when. Right now, I'm like, I need to take a break from cookbook writing for a bit.
That's
um,
understandable, I think.
yeah. Hmm.
Sorry, my cat is joining us.
Oh, of course, no problem.
Sorry.
Always
Well, that
invited.
yes, that would be a big win for the whole food plant-based community if you came out with a oil-free whole food plant-based cookbook we'll definitely be looking for that. That would be amazing. And
Yeah.
that's cool to hear you're like thinking about that. Would you ever
Yeah.
do like a baked goods cookbook?
I do love doing I love baking so much, but now having published two of them, like, uh, I think it's really, really hard to write an entire book that's just on baking.
Mm,
And partly because I'm not like, I just saw, this beautiful cookbook, which I don't even think it's vegan, but it's like the art of gluten-free bread. I mean, that person is like a freaking like PhD in gluten-free bread. You know what I mean? Like she has devoted so much of her
mm,
study. Actually, I don't even know if it's a she or he, but they have devoted so much of their study to like this craft. And for me, baking is so much more recreational. It's like I
mm.
mean, I'm not joking, most of the recipes in the book where it's like I just watched something on Great British Bake Off and I was like, I want to make that. Like that's how like, like not diligent I am about it. Once I zero in on what I want to make, yes, I will test it and redo it until I feel it's good enough. But there's no like, it's not like so niched down where I think I could fill an entire book with it, like,
Mm,
a book on sourdough or a book on gluten-free bread or something like that. And I also think that like just a book on vegan desserts, again, there needs to be some problem that it solves beyond the fact that it's vegan. And so I think I would have a hard time with it. But who knows? Maybe one day, I don't know. Maybe if I'm like Ina Garten level where everyone just buys my cookbooks no matter what, then maybe.
you're just Midas, everything's turning to gold.
Yes, maybe.
It's cool that you watch the Great British Bake Off. Like the clips that I've seen, but I tend to not watch those shows because I'm like, well, I'm vegan. I won't be that fun for me to watch. But it sounds like you still have fun watching it.
No. First of all, there's at least one season where they had a vegan contestant. She was vegan the whole way,
Wow.
and she veganized all of the recipe. Like she did not like compromise. And she made it really far. And
Oh,
it was like really like awesome because these judges were always like, "Good Lord, how did you do that?" And it was like really, really exciting. And I love seeing that. I actually follow her on Instagram because I was so proud of her and how far she went and how she consistently impressed these judges. They were so amazed. And so that's exciting. But for me, it's like an education. Again, I'm not a studied baker. I never went to baking school. I don't know anything about pastry making. So, like, even just the words, like, I was like, oh, I didn't even know that this was a word. What is this? Oh, how can
mm,
I figure out a way to veganize it? And then it's just also like, okay, everybody knows how to make a chocolate cake. Everybody knows how to make a white cake. Everybody knows how to do this. But what this show teaches me is not just how to bake something like the crumb, right? But also flavor. You have to have a balance of flavor. It's not as simple as make the cake and ice it or frost it with your buttercream frosting. They're often talking about, well, you need some sort of acid in there. So why not do like a raspberry Kool-Aid or like a, lemon curd or a passion fruit curd or some kind of tartness that balances things out? How much do you put in there? Where do you put it? How do you not do it so that it doesn't compromise? Like, so these are like all little ideas that I learned from this show that's like then fun to figure out how to veganize. I think it's like fantastic. I know so many vegan bakers who watch this show, probably for the same reason that I do.
just good general knowledge
It
gaining.
is.
Yeah.
Totally. Like I didn't know anything about like what is a shoe pastry? Shoe. And when I was developing my tiramisu recipe, I realized that because you have to come up with your own ladyfingers. There's no vegan ladyfingers, at least not in the United States. And so I had to figure out how to make my own vegan ladyfingers, basically not having had an actual lady finger like pretty much ever. So I was like, I don't really know what I'm like going for here. I had to keep bugging my husband. And so eventually I was like, oh wow, this is actually supposed to look like shoe pastry, which I never would have even thought to think about without having watched this show and having seen them make shoe pastry like dozens of times. I now at least had a visual cue that I wouldn't have had but for this show.
Well, you're really not afraid of a challenge, so you just like dive in,
I
just
do.
figure it out. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I love it. I mean, I think I literally made like 13 tiramisus in like 1 month. I was subjecting poor Anthony to so much We're having tiramisu again. Actually, two of them today.
That I've been wanting to try that tiramisu recipe, but I've been intimidated by it, but I'm saving it for like a rainy day.
Yeah, it's definitely a rainy day or like with friends type of recipe because
Mm.
that the lady fingers is just so hard. It's not easy. It requires upper body strength. I mean, it's a little bit of a challenge, but once you make it, it's truly the best tiramisu ever. I mean, I had some dude over. He's not vegan. He was like my vegan friend's boyfriend, and he's a big buff football player, and he was absolutely his mind was completely blown.
That it was vegan.
Yes, he was like, could not believe it.
That's cool. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Are you're in LA now, right? Or just
Yes.
okay, awesome. Me too. Is there a go-to Korean restaurant that you have with vegan options? No.
No. Are you kidding me? No. There's
I had
so
my
many
fingers
problems.
crossed.
No, you know what? Actually, okay. There are two places. I'm not being terribly fair. There is one place called 보릿 고개. 보릿 고개. If you just Google like Borit, Borit, space Koge, which is like Gogae. I've been there twice and they're in K Town. So like this is a hardcore, like traditional Korean restaurant. And they do have a menu that's very conducive to the vegan diet. And the reason is part of the concept for their menu is the food that Koreans ate when they didn't have meat, when it
Mm,
wasn't available because they were such a poor country. There are also like little pockets of time in Korea's history where they were not allowed to eat meat because their king was Buddhist. So you'll discover that like Korean cuisine, contrary to what many people believe, is very conducive to the vegan. At least the meatless diet, I will say. Like, there's often fish sauce that sneaks its way
mm,
into things, but it's very conducive to a meatless diet. And so that's what this particular restaurant specializes in, and it's phenomenal. I brought two non-vegan Korean people there, native Korean people, and they came there and they said it was the best meal they had in LA. So it's really, really good. There's this other restaurant called Palwu, which I actually haven't been to. It's like a fancy upscale Korean restaurant, and it's founded by a woman. I can't remember her name, but she studied under many Buddhist nuns in Korea, and so it specializes in Korean temple food, which, as you probably know, is very richly plant-based, is very veg friendly. And so they do have an entirely, at least one prefix menu that's entirely plant-based, and that's also in K-Town. So those are the two I would recommend. Other than that, I just discovered today another restaurant that's in K-Town. It's a Korean Chinese restaurant, which if you read the little head note that precedes my discussion of jjajangmyeon in book one, is a very specific kind of Korean restaurant. And I just discovered one that has an entire menu of vegan items that they make, which I'm really excited to try. Like I think I'm gonna go try. I have to leave for my book tour again on Monday, so I'm gonna try hopefully go there on Sunday before I leave again.
nice. Yeah, how's the book tour going?
Book tour has been amazing, Courtney. It's been really amazing. I'll be very candid with you because I think I'm like finally getting emotionally over it. It's been really hard to sell a vegan book right now. As I'm sure you've seen, veganism just is, ugh. It's
Yeah.
going through a really rough time. And so, my book did not make the New York Times bestseller list, and that was like extremely hard for me to grapple with, especially because my first book was just like so crazy successful, right? Um, so the book tour has been sort of the balm to that. Just seeing so many people come out and support me. We've been selling out the events, which is itself a testament to the kind of support that I have inside the vegan community and also outside of the vegan community. So it's been really, really wonderful. I think I would be like probably not even in a position to talk to you because I was so depressed if it
Oh.
wasn't for these events. I mean, I just came from Chicago this morning, and we had a sold out event last night. I mean, it was literally standing room only, cheek to jowl, full of people. We had a vegan restaurant cater the event, and it's just really beautiful. And I think if I didn't have those right now, I would be really, really unhappy. But it's really buoyed me and it's made me realize that, my work is still valuable just because it didn't make some stupid list. It's not a stupid list because I was on it the first time, but you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like just because
Oh,
I didn't make
totally.
it.
You
Yeah.
you have you have so many support, like so many people who are excited for this book. You have so many fans and supporters who you have
Yeah.
a community that you've created. So I'm glad you're seeing that in person. And I've seen, yeah, your Instagram stories. They look packed, like really packed.
It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
I wish people could see. I didn't post yet, but I'm gonna do a video on last night's event. It was just so beautiful.
I know you're super busy. Thank you so much for making the time to talk with me. Is there
Yes.
anything else you'd like to share with the Forks Over Knives crowd?
I would just reiterate, I see you guys want oil-free recipes. I am on it. I'm trying to convince people that I can do this and that I should do it and that there's an audience for it. So I'm really, really hoping that my next cookbook, even if it's not like this is an oil-free cookbook, that every single recipe has an oil-free option.
Wow.
That is really my goal. Um, I just need to get the people who would help me make that a reality to buy into that idea because I'm fully bought into that idea. I have a blog, I see the feedback, I get it all the time. They're like, hey, do you have an oil free option for this? So I understand the service that, I would be providing. So I would just reiterate that. Like, I see it, I'm working on it, I'm trying.
Well, we're here and waiting. You've got an audience built in, ready for you. So that's very exciting. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate it.